Today, all art and design listeners, do you know why the painter got arrested? Because he was framed. Not so with the art and design artist we will speak to today. We have a surprise guest in our studio and on our program today, a real expert.
Oh, I'm glad you say that.
With 30 years of experience as an arts and design teacher, you are definitely a subject expert, Ms. Esther van Schoonberg. I have heard a Namibian man who had worked in the postal services for 30 years, and he said that work is so much a part of him, if you stand still in front of him for long enough, he will put a stamp on you.
Yes, that is so true. I have seen parents and their children go through my hands in school many times.
That's right. And you have taught extensively on the Namibian Senior Secondary Ordinary level and the Namibian Senior Secondary Higher level.
Yes, that's right.
And Ms. Esther, currently you are teaching at the Kids Centre in Windhoek.
Yes, since the beginning of last year.
Well, then I can think of nobody more appropriate than yourself to give guidance to our AS level art and design learners on how to develop ideas from planning, recording and exploration in terms of Objective A in the syllabus, and also to guide us on how to demonstrate an understanding of the elements of visual language. So, you are more than welcome to our art and design studio, Ms. Esther.
Thank you.
I am Nina van Deventer, and I would like to discuss topics in art and design that we see learners are struggling with. We have been discussing the coursework portfolio, which they have to create as evidence of continuous development throughout towards the final art piece. We have already discussed Objectives A and B in terms of planning and recording of the physical world, as well as the imagination. My art learner, Van Roy, has asked me to get you here to please explain more about the development of ideas from research, recording and exploration. And then also about the elements of visual language, please.
That will be my pleasure, Nina.
But before we start with today's lesson, I would like to recap on our previous topics. In Lesson 1, we specifically discussed the portfolio, how to plan your topic and how to research more about it.
Yes, it is very important to do proper research.
In Lesson 2, we delved deeper into the research, as well as exploring different artists, artworks, media, techniques and processes, and to be able to select the best possible way towards the final art piece.
Yes, it is very important that you should do your research and experimentation properly, otherwise you won't be able to end up with a great final piece.
Yes, we also briefly looked at some of the do's and don'ts during an examination. By now, the learners should know what they want to create, in which type of media, and the message they would like to portray through their artwork. I think we can agree, the sky is not the limit in art and design.
Definitely no limits.
And it is important to open one's mind and embrace creativity in order to perform well.
It is very important to be as original and creative as possible.
Perfect, thank you. I think many learners find the process of developing ideas from all the research and explorations which have been done quite a daunting task. This is probably the area in which most candidates would struggle. Is that your experience too? Candidates find it hard to follow procedure or fulfill the instructions.
Yes, Nina, it is indeed not easy. Let me elaborate. When you develop an idea, you have to make sure it is your own idea and not an idea which you have seen somewhere on Pinterest or on the internet. If you do get your inspiration from the internet or from Pinterest, you have to make sure that you acknowledge the artist you are using as inspiration. So when you start to develop your own idea, it's very important to start with first-hand observation. As soon as you have chosen your topic, you have to start with a first-hand observation. Now, what is first-hand observation? It is drawing from an actual object or your own photograph which you have taken yourself. Now, say for example, you have a topic like inside out. Then you would start like looking for stuff that you can draw. For example, inside out, you think of an orange which you peel. So the inside of an orange is coming to the outside. Now you draw this orange, put it in front of you. You draw the orange and the orange peel and the little segments inside the orange. While you are busy drawing your orange, your brain will start thinking of how to develop this idea of inside out further. This is now just an example. Say now you've drawn the orange with a little segments inside. It can make you think of a person's brain, like the inside of the human brain. Then you can go and look at what, for example, Da Vinci did or other artists like Rembrandt did when they used the human brain. That is part of your research. And as you are doing your research, you will just find that your ideas will start developing by itself. But it's very important to start with a first-hand observation as the beginning of developing your idea.
Oh, that is so interesting.
Yes, and the more you start to investigate, the more the ideas will take shape. If you follow the procedure by starting with first-hand observation first and then develop from there, you can be assured that your final piece will be original. I have seen so many learners in the past wanting to take shortcuts by copying somebody else's idea from the internet. The examiners can't be fooled. If you run with somebody else's idea, you cannot show the whole development process from beginning to end. It is no use to wow the examiner with an excellent final piece, but you cannot show in your prep work how you developed your idea. Whilst you are busy developing your final, all the little sketches and brainstorming ideas should be kept and used in your prep work in a paste up so that the examiner can see your development.
Thank you so much for all these tips and guidance, Miss Esther. I hope our learners are making notes. Our next learning objective is about how to understand the elements of visual language. Could you please tell us a little more about this?
Yes, with pleasure, Nina. The elements of visual language. You know, art and design is a visual language. So the artist communicates with images. Now these images consist out of dots, lines, shapes, colors, and texture. Those are the 5 elements of art. Now when you do a composition, you put all of these elements together. So the examiner would like to know that you have used your dots, lines, shapes, and colors and textures correctly. The examiner wants also to see that you know how to put a composition together. For example, every composition or your final piece must have a focus point. That means your eye must set onto a specific place in your artwork. The second thing that a composition must have is balance. And the third, contrast. Contrast is like, for example, the difference between light and dark, big and small. And then the fourth one is movement. There are different ways to create movement in art. And then the last one is the shape of the images in the background and the foreground. It's called the positive and the negative shapes. Now all of those is what the examiner looks for when he looks for your use of the elements of visual language.
Miss Esther, I'm sure the learners all join me in thanking you sincerely for coming in today to help us understand better the process of developing ideas from research, recording, and exploration, and of course, the abstract concept of elements of visual language.
It's been a pleasure, Nina.
Yes, it was wonderful to see you. Listeners, this also wraps up today's lesson in the world of developing ideas and the elements of visual language. Thank you for listening and join us again soon for Lesson 4.
This lesson is produced by NAMCOL with funding from the Ministry of Education, Arts and Culture.